The first issue I want to go through is the Colin Kaepernick Nike controversy. That is Nike's decision to hire Colin Kaepernick as the spokesman for their Just Do It brand, their Just Do It anniversary advertisement campaign. Now, Colin Kaepernick, for those of you who don't know, although I imagine you would have to be living under a rock not to know, is famous for being one of the first NFL players to kneel during the national anthem in protest of what he calls basically racially motivated attacks by police on innocent people. And this, of course, comes out of the Black Lives Matter movement. It's a fiery movement that basically got started out by a series of high-profile shootings, particularly Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Philando Castillo, and a few others. And this movement posits that America is an oppressive place because we treat our black population poorly. Specifically, our police treat our black population poorly. Now, before I analyze this controversy and provide some ideas about it, I want to give you some context about my perspective on Black Lives Matter and on the kneelers in general. I am not a fan or sympathizer of either of these movements. I think they're both toxic and bad for America, each in their own way. I'll say about Black Lives Matter, I think they undo a lot of the good work that was done by the civil rights activists of the early part of the 20th century by making race everything. It's no longer about saying, well, your skin color doesn't matter, you can succeed. It's, are there enough people of a particular color in a particular place at a particular time? It's all about tokenism. It's all about representing. It's all about dividing and distinguishing. And that's one of the reasons I think Black Lives Matter is a toxic organization, toxic movement. I'm more than happy to go into that in further detail in future videos. As to the kneelers, I think they're part of a wider phenomenon of the left injecting social justice politics into every aspect of our life. Whether it's work, whether it's entertainment, whether it's politics, it's everywhere. I mean, you can't even go to a supermarket today without it. And yet, today, we see it here in Nike celebrating Kaepernick as part of their brand, bringing that movement into their brand. Now, the question you may ask is why? Well, I think one reason is that Nike is making a calculated risk, thinking their sales are going to go up because they'll get social justice cred for supporting this movement. It's a very polarizing movement. There are people who support it in large numbers here in the States, despite the fact that I disapprove of it. Now, a couple of things about the Colin Kaepernick controversy that I want to make clear, some points I can add. There are people who agree with me on this, who share my perspective, and they will often criticize Nike for things that I think are non-essential to this issue. And I want to point out a few of those for the benefit of my audience. And for those who disagree with me and hear these horrible arguments and don't want to be bothered to refute them, you can get your reputation here from me, even though we disagree. The first point that's often made about this that I disagree with is that, well, Nike is taking Kaepernick as their exemplar, as the face of their brand, and he's not even really a great sports hero. Why did they pick him? I mean, he basically was benched before the protests even began. He's not a particularly accomplished quarterback. He's not even very good. The whole mantra of Nike is believe in something, sacrifice, even if it means sacrificing everything. Which, by the way, is a silly brand because, what are you supposed to believe in? Santa Claus? That's something, right? Nazism? Democracy? And there's no guidance in that slogan. It's a very vacuous slogan for that reason. But they'll say, well, he's not a sports superstar. Why did they select him for their advertisement campaign? And my answer is that that's the point. He's not a sports superstar. The whole premise behind Nike selecting Cap for this is that he is a person polarizing and pushing a strong social message, much in the way of Jackie Robinson when he broke the color line in Major League Baseball. Nike is banking on Kaepernick being the next Jackie Robinson for whatever that means. Now, as I had said earlier, this is totally perverse because they are opposites. Jackie Robinson's demonstrations were all about showing that your skin color didn't matter and that you could be a good baseball player regardless of your skin tone. With Kaepernick and the Black Lives Matter movement, it's about distinguishing blacks separate from everybody else and making sure they get a share, their allotted share of the pie, whatever that means. So it's entirely anti-individual. It's entirely collectivistic, whereas Jackie Robinson is saying, don't be collectivistic. Don't judge by just the color, the superficial color of their skin. So, but the point stands. Nike is convinced this is a Jackie Robinson moment, so it's not about them promoting the next Michael Jordan or the next Mike Tyson or the next, Tom Brady. It's about getting somebody who's pushing a positive social message. So that's not good enough to say that they're picking someone who's a lackluster athlete. The second thing that I've seen, and this is a little bit more nefarious in my mind because I think it's a bigger mistake, is a common meme I see on Facebook. And this is even put up by people like Ben Shapiro, conservatives. It'll show a picture of, a couple of Chinese workers. And it will say, look at Nike. They are promoting Colin Kaepernick, spending millions of dollars on this campaign to promote his social justice brand and virtue signal. Meanwhile, they are hiring sweatshop migrant laborers in China for $2 a day. And, some of the memes say, oh man, 80% of these are even women. Oh golly gee, it's a minority group on top of that. So not only are they being paid less than what we would expect, but they're minorities. That's a double strike against Nike. So what these conservatives and libertarians are doing is they're taking the premise of the left, that sweatshops are evil, and they're basically saying, well, look at Nike. They're hypocrites. They're social justice posing on one side, but then they're promoting sweatshops on the other to make their bottom line healthy. Isn't that a contradiction? Isn't that horrible? Well, it's not horrible. I'll say right now that the reason this is such a dangerous allegation is that when Nike employs people in sweatshops for $2 a day, whether they're Chinese, women, doesn't matter what group they're in, they're doing a moral thing. Sweatshops are a moral institution, provided they are done in a context where better alternatives lead to starvation or death or misery. You have to remember, the third world is not the West. It is not Europe. It is not America. It doesn't have the same level of technology, the same level of political system that we do. They don't have a constitution that guarantees property and individual rights. They don't have the skill set or the infrastructure to build an economy like ours overnight. Rome, as the old expression goes, wasn't built in a day, and neither are these countries. And so for Nike, a company that's made billions of dollars promoting a successful brand, to invest their money in these areas and give these people a chance to increase their holdings, get better skills, maybe become plant managers. Heck, some of these people might even open up their own companies in China, in Mongolia, in Indonesia, wherever they are, and become successful in their own right. So you can't deny these third world countries the intermediate steps that are required for them to become first world countries. You can't sit comfortably here in America and say it's immoral for Nike to do this. It's not immoral, it's moral. And the fact is these people aren't being exploited, they're being given a wage, a salary. Whenever you take any job, whether it's, corner grocer, whether it's the big firm you work for, the fact is you have to make a trade with the employer. They value your labor more than the money they pay you, and you value the money they pay you more than the labor you give them. It's an even trade. It's a trade for mutual gain. And you can't deny these people that kind of opportunity in the name of, well, ours is higher, ours is better, and we are past the point they're at. That, I think, is wrong, and it's to send the wrong message. So don't make this argument either if you're going to criticize Nike. The last point that I hear sometimes made about this, and this is the last thing I'll say about the kneelers and Colin Kaepernick, is, what the president said, what Trump said. Well, there should be a law against not kneeling for the flag. There should be regulations on the NFL that prevent this. These people should be fired. I mean, Trump made it very clear that he wanted these people fired, and he got on TV and in the press saying how these people who don't fire them are anti-American. Well, they could be anti-American, and a lot of them probably are. But the fact is that they are also a private company. They have the right to do what they want with their employees. If they decide they want to allow their employees to kneel during the anthem, then that's their policy and that's their right. They can do that as a firm. It's not Trump's place or my place or anyone else's place to tell them how to run their business. Property rights are an element of American of the American culture and the American Constitution. And you can't say that because we dislike what you're doing, you should therefore be prevented from doing it. That's tyranny, and that's wrong. So I would say you can disapprove of Nike. You can boycott them. You can say, I don't want to buy them. I don't want to purchase any goods by them. I certainly don't approve of Nike. I don't think enough to say that I would boycott all their products. I mean, if I had an option to pick, two products, they're the same product, and one's Nike and one's not, I'd probably buy the non-Nike one. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to buy a product if it's unique to Nike and I really want it. I don't care that much about this. So, it's up to each person to decide how much they care and to either endorse or not endorse, to either buy or not buy. So at the end of the day, if you feel strongly about this, then I urge you to boycott Nike. But don't call for laws to regulate them. Don't whine about sweatshops. And don't complain that Colin Kaepernick is a bad quarterback and therefore these people are silly for doing it. You have to fight this on the moral premise, and you have to point out why it is you disagree in ethical terms. So that's all I have to say about the Colin Kaepernick scandal. Hi, Rob here. Did you like what you saw? If you're really interested and want to see more, click the link below and check out my YouTube channel to see full episodes of the One in the Many videocast. Thanks. Hope to see you later. Bye.